Hey Libra, what's up? We are starting this reading with there being this opening into a new chapter, but I'm already seeing that that as far as what's going on right now, you can be really throwing yourself into things. So even though we have this Ace of Pentacles here, which is going to be the beginning of something, you can feel like you're kind of going head first into this and working really hard. But I'm also seeing that we have a Three of Swords, which feels important. I don't know if like maybe there's something going on where like I don't want to think about that, so I'm going to focus on like all of this work that I have to do here. Maybe you're also working on something where there's like an effort to maybe do something healing as well. Let's see what this is about. This new chapter could immediately, like from the beginning, require a very immense amount of energy from you. You know how some things they start off more gradually or lighter? I'm seeing it be like the opposite for this thing. This is kind of like immediately, like from 9 to 5, we need you here, putting in all of this work, maybe like 12 to 12. So something just requires a lot of energy. See you working through something on the emotional front. Yeah. You're in the process of healing, but you can be having a hard time getting over this. Not that you need to or need to rush this. I just see a lot of stuff that you can be feeling right now. This Three of Swords is connected with a Five of Cups, which can be when something doesn't materialize the way that we think it's going to. Five of Cups being connected with the Star is about trying to find hope after sadness and after loss, and trying not to lose sight of that, or like even trying to regain a sense of hope where we believe that things are worth maybe doing or fighting for, worth participating in, rather than just like giving up entirely. But maybe you're going through a time when you're like, I've just been feeling this really deeply right now, and it's really hard to do anything when this is part of the experience that I'm having. And I think it's about like mending your heart right now overall. And as that's happening, regaining maybe some perspective that you can feel like you don't really have right now. This can be something that's been affecting you very, very deeply. But it can also be driving your sense of direction as well. Almost like in an inadvertent way. It looks to you like this is also about healing your relationship with yourself, having that Three of Swords and having the Queen of Wands here. This can have to do with like self-worth, self-esteem, attractiveness. It can also have to do with your self-expression. When I think of this energy, there's like with this type of energy, there's a little bit of a difference between a Queen of Pentacles versus a Queen of Wands. But I almost get like a little bit of a similar vibe to it, where if we had Queen of Pentacles here, this could be about you may be being appreciated for what you have to offer and being valued, where whatever it is that you're doing and where you're showing up, you just feel like you're being appreciated. But with the energy of the Queen of Wands, it's more something about like being wanted, I think, and being desired. And it can be being appreciated, not for like what you're necessarily doing for other people, but more so like you as an individual expressing yourself. Like it's a more fiery sacral solar plexus energy, where this can be like maybe wanting to be wanted because you are unique within your expression, because this is fire energy with the Queen of Wands. The Queen of Wands is like an Aries type energy, so it can be being an individual, being unique, being original, like being unrepeatable in some way. So there can be something about that. And also too, when we're healing something with the energy of the Queen of Wands, this is about us giving ourselves permission to be ourselves, because it's about self-expression, because fire is about self-expression, and just giving yourself permission to be yourself and to make choices that align with that, to speak on behalf of that, and to follow your heart as well, because fire is also connected with the heart. So yeah, there can be something associated with that, where like also our gifts are connected with this type of energy, and it could be our creativity that's connected with this energy too. So maybe there's something like that where it's about being as much of yourself as possible, and that can be what you're working on within this cycle. Like regardless of how it's being applied, I think that's actually the theme behind what you have going on right now. So like expressing yourself as authentically and honestly and transparently as possible. Because when we have a wounded energy that's connected with the Queen of Wands, it can be like not saying certain things out loud because we don't want to be judged for it, even if it's our truth. Not owning ourselves within the energy, or our energy within the environment, not expressing ourselves honestly, holding back, not speaking our truth. So it can be like people-pleasing tendencies as well, or it can be like acting like something or someone else because we feel like that's more socially acceptable. So yeah, I think this is like ultimately about giving yourself the validation, so then you're not performing, because that can also be part of this energy. Having a wounded Queen of Wands energy can definitely be like a more performative energy that you can be looking at and being like, I need to like heal this, so I'm not doing that because it doesn't feel honest. It's kind of like when you get around certain people, you start acting a certain way, and then you walk away and you're like, why did I do that? Or like, why was I saying that? And it's just because it didn't feel like totally authentic. And this can be like in the work that you're doing, or like with a certain relationship, or just in general. Whatever it is, it feels like coming into your own, where you're not looking to somebody else to be giving you permission to be yourself. You're like checking in with yourself and just expressing yourself as you actually are. This means like you're not like hiding your ideas or like what you really think, you know. Just overall the concept of giving yourself permission to be yourself in whatever way it is that you want to be expressing that. And that's what this new chapter is about. So that also means being clear about what you like and what you don't like, to, you know, what you want, what you don't want, what feels good, what doesn't feel good. And that it's not only about saying what you know will get approval, because it's not about other people, it's about you. Which, always the ironic part about this energy is that when we give ourselves permission to be ourselves and we stop performing, that does make us more attractive. When the whole time it's like you can be performing so people can like find you interesting or unique or funny, or like however you want to be perceived. Meanwhile, like people that are really in touch with the energy, even people that aren't so aware, they're going to feel that something isn't real and something isn't honest. But as soon as you give yourself permission to be yourself and you're not like acting and not performing anymore, that's when you get like that magnetism to come back. And that's really the secret to it. So maybe that's also kind of a lesson that is being learned right now for you. We have Venus and we have Libra. Maybe this new chapter that you're starting is about stepping away from the things where you feel like you're performing and you're not being honest. And it can be like a mindset that you're leaving behind. It can be maybe certain situations where you're like, I can only exist here when I'm performing in a way that doesn't feel honest to me, and I don't really want to be doing that. You know, like maybe you feel like you could be walking away from situations that don't support your creativity, don't support your authenticity, don't allow you to be yourself. So it can be a time of making those changes, because you can feel like, I feel like you're doing a service for yourself when maybe before you were in some situations that felt like a disservice to you. And even though it can be difficult to move beyond these situations because it means that you're going to have to face some challenging stuff, it can feel really important. Meaning, I'm seeing this Eight of Cups going into the Three of Swords. This may make you have to face certain wounds that you have, which you could avoid by staying in certain situations, but you can be at a point where you're like, I'm not going to shy away from this anymore. It's stuff that I'm going to address. It feels like about time that I do this. And even though it's going to hurt like hell, I really need to do this for myself, because I know that I'm not going to feel at peace unless this is something that I address. So it can be a time when you're confronting some really difficult stuff. And this can be stuff that you were not correcting before, that you were letting slide before, that it's like actually not okay, but you could have not been feeling very confident within your energy, and you could have like not really been expressing yourself as you'd actually prefer to. You could have maybe been biting your tongue a lot, but in a way where it's like you walk away not feeling good about that. So it can be a time when you stop doing that. Think that overall this is just what you want now. So the challenge is that you're going to have to face some difficult personal stuff in order to get what you want, which is like on the other side of that. So as long as this is something that you're willing to address, you basically get the prize that you want at the end. So that's what this is bringing up for you. But I think many of us can look at a situation like that and be like, I don't even want to touch that. I don't want to have to deal with that. I don't want to have to do the work. But you can be at a point where you're actually ready to be doing this now. Because you could feel like it's not really allowing you to do what you want with your life and how you want it to be. And you can know too that it actually is possible for you to have many things that you want, for you to create things that you want, and for you to also feel good as you're doing that, to feel good about the things that you're creating and about the things that you're a part of and the way that your life looks. You can have all of those things, but it does mean that you're going to have to address the things that get in the way of you doing that. Because this can really stop you from pursuing a lot of stuff that you want to actually pursue and get into a lot of things that you really want to get into. So it feels like overall this has been a barrier. For some of you too, I think that you've been in some situations that don't really feel right for you anymore, but you could have been not stepping out of them because you knew that it was going to be painful for you to do that, even though that's kind of like what you have to go through in order for you to really get into what you want. So it could have been, you could have been staying in certain situations not because you wanted to be there, but because you were avoiding maybe being alone or being away from these situations. You get what I'm saying here? you weren't staying in a situation because that's where you wanted to be, but you may have been staying in it because you were avoiding what the natural consequences would be, which can be like that pain of like separating or kind of being like out on your own a little bit, or having to like find your new situation. So I think overall, this is something that's coming up for you where you're like, this is a broken system. I really don't feel like I'm meant to be doing things in this way. And it's also like keeping me from more deeply connecting with, I think, what I want at the end of the day. So it can be a time when you decide to step up. But it also asks from you trust and surrender. And another reason why we cannot walk away from certain situations that aren't right for us anymore is because we're having a hard time accepting the reality. So it's like if I deny what this situation really, the truth of this situation, I can stay here out of ignorance, even though if I were to inspect further, I'd see like I'm not meant to be here. So there could have been an avoidance of deeper reflection that was happening because the truth may have stung really badly and you didn't want it to be like that. So that can be part of the reason. But then you can also feel like you're kind of living a lie a little bit, like you're lying to yourself to be able to stay in a cycle. So I think that's going to make you confront like where you haven't really been showing up, and like the pain of, wow, I was really doing that to myself, and coming to terms, but only so it can be like, wow, I was really doing that to myself. Let me not do that anymore. Let me do something differently now. So it's giving you permission to step into your life as the creator of your life in a way that you were not before. Because I see you being very disempowered in a way. So this is going to help you shed that old narrative so you can step into one that feels more empowering, so it can like put you in like a better position within your life. And so that's what this is about right now. All right, we are going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting and tuning in. I'm seeing Libra and I'm seeing Scorpio on the bottom of the deck, and we also have Mercury and we have Venus here. I'm sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.